Hi everybody, we're back in the shop again today working on the Nemesis. I've managed to be able to haul the transmission back down here, so we want to try to get it installed in the back as well as getting the engine fully actually seated and connected on its engine mounts. Something I just put in there before, I didn't have the right proper flange nuts for the bottom of the engine mount, so I had to go grab those. So the engine's just been kind of sitting in there on some plywood for the moment. So today's job is really to basically adjust the engine, being able to get it on its mounts, get the transmission mounted, and maybe do some finish up welding on some of the bars as well. So if we take a look at our setup here, we're going to have to pop the intercooler back out, pull these bars off the top here, probably finish up the finish welding on the bottom of these that I wasn't able to do when everything was in place. Then essentially just need to lift the engine just a tiny little bit. It's just propped up on some plywood on there, so it's not connected really on the engine mounts. That will allow us to put the bars back on, make sure our clearances and everything for the intercooler are still okay once everything is buttoned down, and then being able to pop the transmission into the back here. So it's going to mount on the back. I'm able to take the bars and all the different things that we need to mock up in here to figure out where I want to put the turbo on the back, but actually get everything kind of assembled on the back so I know how to do any of the fabrication for the exhaust, for the turbo, and get those things going. Of course, have the morning cleanup. There's transmission fluid because the rear casing wasn't on sealed tight, but we've got the casing all sealed up on the back there, so we don't have the drive shaft that was going back to the rear wheels anymore, and we'll get everything all connected. Yeah, so we got a little bit of work to do today. Hopefully we can get all that done, maybe a little bit more. We'll see how everything goes. Nothing ever goes to plan. But we'll get all those things underway and see how everything goes. Yeah, so that didn't work. Trying to get the transmission on the back just by myself, trying to get things to line up with the engine still not fully fastened there and it's tipping. I want to pull the engine and transmission all the way out, get everything buttoned together and tightened up on the actual floor, and then lift the whole unit up and plop it into place. Strike one. Let's see if we can get something enough. Strike two. Well, after a whole bunch of messing around, finally got the engine and transmission back into the car. It's interesting getting the two of them to mate by myself on the ground there, getting everything bolted up, and then laying things in. So we have the engine all back in here again. It's sitting at a little bit more of an angle of what it was supposed to be based off the mounts and the weight of the transmission on the end. So we'll one thing I don't have the bolts here to connect to the transmission to hold everything down tight on there, so I need to get 4 of those to be able to hold everything exactly in place. You can see that it's off by a few inches here to shift over towards the, well, it's not a passenger side, but the other side of the car. So yeah, so this we'll get this kind of starting to get buttoned up on the back. Need to get that fastened on there before I do any kind of fabrication of stuff on the rear, but that's got it in place. So now I'm gonna do up some finish welding on those bars, get them back in, and just check my clearances on everything. But you know, so far so good. Alright, everything is put back together. So I still need to figure out this transmission mounting stuff here. One of the things when I'm pulling the engine and the transmission over for the line, everything to line up, what's happening is I'm getting a pivot here where the valve covers are now hitting on this nut that's here as well. So I'm going to have to see how that all is going to have to wiggle around and get fit in there. But overall, everything's back in. Even put in my mock-up bars in here for my strut tower supports. So now I got to figure out really, you know, the starter is going to come here. I need to figure out where I'm going to put the turbo in the back here and how I'm going to run the piping to it. That's going to be an interesting challenge. You know, we've got the direct shot here for the intercooler, likely run the outlet of the turbo out through there and up underneath and into the intercooler. So I gotta look around to see where's gonna be the best place to essentially run all of the piping and the connections. So, you know, my headers are coming across here with piping coming back. I need to be able to bring it up and around and to the turbo, but still basically finding a way to get around the prop shafts that are going to come out here from the transmission as well. So there's a little bit of interesting work that I need to do to figure out how all that is going to go. So, you know, still lots to figure out on the car, but it's definitely, you know, coming along one step at a time. Just trying to get all the fabrication stuff all figured out and then move on to things like wiring and body work. But for the most part, making progress. So little bit by little bit. We'll join again next video and we'll see some more stuff that we're going to do to this crazy machine. Thanks a lot.